asks, did you add the header and footer to the elements folder? Maybe I missed it. Actually, that's good. You're actually a little ahead of the game because I am actually just about to do that. So what Freya is asking about is much like the header required and footer required element, every theme has an elements directory as well. And so if you've ever played around with PHP, which I'm sure most of you have, usually sites will have what's called an includes directory. And this is where you stash common things that you reuse. So footer files, header files, that kind of stuff. We have those in the themes too. It's called elements. And what you typically put in the elements directory of a theme, you typically put the parts of your theme that are the same from page to page. So we started with this for just to show how easy it was to build a concrete5 theme. You don't need any elements. You don't need anything like that. What we actually have here is we could actually stop right now and actually have a theme that would totally work for some sites, because we have one sort of main, very flexible page type. We could use layouts to cut that one full template into different form factors if we wanted to. We have dynamic stuff that works with concrete5 all throughout our site. However, we want to add a few more page types because I want to try and build out the home page, and I also want to build out a right sidebar page. So what that means is we're going to have to build more than default.php. So we could just duplicate default.php and rename it right sidebar and start messing around with that template in order to make a right sidebar page type. But if we did that, we'd be duplicating a lot of code, because basically from here on down to here, this is going to be the same for any page type templates that we create. And then from here up to here is going to be the same for any templates we create. So these 7 lines are the only things that are the only lines that the full page type or the default template use that makes it sort of default. So obviously you can save a lot of characters, you can save a lot of sanity by reusing this stuff for different templates you make. And so that's what we're going to do. So we're going to create a directory in our theme called elements, and in there we are going to create a page called, or a PHP file called header.php, and header.php is going to contain all the items down, all of the HTML and PHP that is the same on every page type in our site. So that's basically all this. So I'm going to come down here and delete all the other content. You can name these things anything, by the way. It doesn't have to be called header or footer. You call it top and bottom. You can do whatever you want. It's just this is just a typical convention we use. I just wanted to stress that because some frameworks are are more rigid than concrete5. We really let you do a lot of we let you approach these problems in the way that makes sense to you. So we're going to also create a file called footer.php, and that is going to contain everything from here up to here, since it is footer content. And then we go back into our default.php and we delete everything but the stuff that makes it. We delete everything but the full content. And then we have to, of course, tell concrete5 that it needs to look in these locations. So that's what we do here. These lines of code tell Concrete to include a file in the elements directory in the theme called header.php. And you have to use this syntax because INC will take care of looking in the right location for your theme. So you can use the same code to include a theme, whether it's in a package, whether it's in the marketplace downloaded, whether it's in the core, or whether it is a custom theme you're developing for your site. And so I refresh the page, and you can tell this worked because everything still looks the same and works. However, we have our default template is much, much simpler. So that is how we include something in the elements directory. And that becomes more compelling when we start to make more page types. So I'm going to duplicate my default.php, and I'm going to make one called right sidebar.php. Then I'm going to look inside the style-demo.html for the code that makes the right sidebar. So you can see the style demo has all this stuff in here that we don't really care about, but it also has a left content area and a right content area, which we do care about. So I'm going to open that up in my text editor, and I'm going to go down here, and I can see wrapper, container, and content. Content and column look exactly like what I want. So what I'm going to do here is take this wrapper and container and then content and column, and I'm going to come in to my right sidebar. I'm going to paste it in there. There's a lot of stuff happening in here, so I'm going to delete it for the time being. And I'm going to delete this content as well. So I just have this HTML, and I can take my main area. Notice I am keeping it named main. I'm going to paste it in here. And then I'm going to, in my column, make another editable area. I'm going to call it sidebar. And then I'm going to delete the other code that was a remnant of the previous page type. So now I have a second template. Nothing on my site has changed because I don't actually use that template yet. I'm still only using full. So in order to start using that new template, I come into page types and I add a page type, and I can name it anything I want. But in order to get it to use this new template I've made, I need to make sure my handle is the same as the template file name -.php. So handle is right_sidebar, template right_sidebar.php. I can choose the appropriate icon, add that page type in there, and then now I can go into my site, and let's say I want to keep about looking mostly the same, but I want to make Contact Us have the right sidebar. I can come into Design on Contact Us and change it from full to right sidebar. My page reloads. I'm now in edit mode, but you can see that my main area, which is editable, is over here, and my sidebar is over here. So I now have a template that works with a sidebar. And I can take some of this content here and paste it in there. So I might as well do that. Let's take some of this stuff in here from the current site. Let's take this all the way down to the table. We'll paste it in. I can paste in HTML into this here. I'll delete some of these broken images because I don't really need those. I'll call this Contact Us so that we can remember that we are in fact on the Contact Us page. And then I can publish this. So you can see that all of these styles continue to work. The content is over here. I can do a couple of different things over here if I'd like. This is some content at the top. I can also add in another auto nav if I were so inclined. I don't really want that. And actually, if I wanted to, I could display pages a level below because I am at the Contact Us section of the site. And maybe I want to add some subpages here. Maybe I'll add a page called Sitemap. And now when I come back to Contact Us, I've got a nav that shows Sitemap. If I click on that, I could perhaps add another auto nav block, which was just something that showed us all the pages in our site. Something super basic. Now we're not going to get into advanced styling on some of this stuff, but you can see that it's pretty easy for us to add content that looks pretty good in this theme all throughout it. So that is how we would add a second page type, and it's a lot easier now that we have the header and footer in their respective elements. And now at this point, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to start working on the home page. And then once we get a little ways into the home page, I'm going to open it up for some final questions. But the home page is a bit more complicated, so it might take us a little while. But it should be something that we can do pretty easily. A lot of times this is easiest if you just sort of attack it piecemeal. So we're going to take the default.php again, and we're going to make a new page type called home. I'm not going to put anything in here yet, but I am going to create the page type. Again, I call it home, handle of home, give it the appropriate icon. And now finally we come back to the home page on the site, and I'll attach the home page type there. I'm in edit mode now. All my editable global areas are there and working, but I don't have any special homepage specific stuff yet, but that's what we're going to fix. So we come in here, and we find where the homepage content starts to actually work. And I believe it's starting here. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to copy this content into our template. If we refresh, we can see that stuff is starting to show up. But what we want to do here is we want to swap out this fake image for something that looks nice. So what we're going to do is make an editable area. Call it home image. And then we'll make another editable area over here. And what would be a good We'll call it home featured content. We'll save that over here. And then we'll refresh this page. You can see that now a lot of that stuff is editable, and we'll upload an appropriate image. This is just the concrete5 image block. You can see that the concrete5 file manager currently is empty because we haven't used it yet on this site. But I have some assets that I think will work pretty well for this. So let's upload that file. You can see that this file is in fact 575 by 300. That is exactly, coincidentally, that is exactly the what we want for our image block. And then when we publish edits, you can see that we've got a nice image in there. You'll also see that in my image block here, I set 575 by 300 and then the force exact image match here. You can see I did that. The reason I did that is in the future, if we wanted to add a new file when we did this, let's say we upload a new file into the file manager, and this one we want to use there. If we edit this, you can see that now it is actually passing in, it is actually passing in 575 by 300 as the forced footprint. So you can actually force that at the image block level and to keep your templates appropriate. So now I'm going to have to upload a file that is the sufficient size, or I could zoom it out, but that doesn't look great. But I could do that if I wanted to, and then choose it, and it would look although the image is not great, the footprint is automatically matched. So that image isn't good, so we're going to go back to the old one. But it's cool to note that you can, in fact, do that from within the image block. Of course, you can make the image link somewhere, so maybe I want to make it link to another page on my site. I'll make it link to the About page. If I click through, it's going to go to About, but we've got a nice image in there with very little work. And we've got this home featured content area. I can look at some of the content that we had here. This is just an H2 and some P tags. So I'm just going to add this. Welcome to my website. I hope you like what you see. This is some sample content. Our editor tries to do a pretty good job of, adding, being fairly HTML standards compliant. So when you're pressing enter, it will create paragraph tags around your content. This theme is coded very much to take advantage of that. So this theme is looking really nice in general. And then, of course, this content here is actually showing thumbnails in a list. We don't actually have anything installed that will do that yet. This would be a good opportunity to use an image gallery that used a list as its method of presentation. That's a little outside the scope of what we're doing today, but it's definitely someplace where I would recommend going. Instead, you could also just, add any number of different pieces of media here as well. Next, if we preview our edits, you can see this all looks pretty good. But if we look at the home page as defined, if we look at the home page as we've done here, we've got 3 columns and some images here. So what we're going to do is let's make some pages for that. Let's make a section of this site that we put under About. We'll call this one Story 1. story 2, and story 3. Now we've got 3 pages underneath about, and we're going to add some columns and link to those pages. So let's pull up our home, or our the HTML that came with the theme. It's looking pretty good here. You can see that it looks like this is the content that we have here. The wrapper and some intros here. So what we're going to do is we're going to copy this entire section here into home.php after this. And then we are going to make a note of what we have here. Copy this over here. Sometimes it's important to keep the HTML that these themes have in mind around so that you can craft your HTML accordingly. And then we're going to add some more editable areas. We'll call this home column 1. And if you said I'm going to call this one home column 2, you are absolutely right. And finally, home column 3. If I refresh this page and edit it, you can see that there are now 3 columns added here. And we're going to add some content. Then we're going to add, we'll try adding an inline image. Now, since we have 3 images for all this stuff, I'm going to add multiple image files at one time. I'm going to add all 3 of these images. Concrete5 is a multi-file uploader. And I'm going to pick image 1. And then I'm going to just give this a little whirl in terms of what it looks like. I'll copy some of this content and just paste it down here. See how that works for me. Well, that's looking pretty good. Now you can see that what that's done is it has in fact made it a little bit difficult to edit, and I'm wondering why that is. There is some overlap. Doesn't really appear when you're not in edit mode, but it does kind of make this hard to reach. So we're going to keep plunking away, but there's going to be something that we have to do to address that problem. I'll just add some more content. Add image. Whoops. That was interesting. I'm totally clear as to why that happened. Okay. And then finally, we want to add in links to our stories. So we're going to check out how those links are crafted. Looks like there's a paragraph with the read more class and then a link in there. So what we're going to do is let's try adding that. Let's try adding read more first. And we insert a link to the story 1 page. And then let's go into the HTML here and actually give it the read more class and see how that works. seems to be working pretty well. They actually call it continue reading, so I will do that. Unfortunately, TinyMC has decided to remove the link to the page, which is a little annoying. But the P tag still has the right class. And I can do the same thing over here.